So you clicked on this video wondering, how much does it cost to get into FPV? And if that's the case, then this is gonna be the video for you, because I'm going to break down how much my setup costs and just how much money is needed to get the drone and all the accessories that are required to get you up in the air and get some cinematic video. So I wanna start by saying that this is pretty subjective, what I'm gonna go through here, since this is all dependent on my build and my experience. So I'm gonna total up all of the costs for the parts that I've used personally on my drone, and I'm gonna keep a running total on the screen for you guys so that way you can see how much this is gonna cost as an investment for you. But keep in mind, this is my build, so if you wanna deviate and choose some different parts here and there, then you can actually lower the cost quite a bit, or you can increase the cost quite a bit. So it just depends on what you need from your drone. All right, so first, the frame that I decided to go with is the FPV Cycle Glide 5-inch frame. It's $55.70, and all around it's just a really solid frame. I've had zero issues with it. They have some really nice touches as far as space goes, and for a first frame, I'd highly recommend this since it kind of has all of the features that you're gonna need, especially if you're going with an analog build. And for this build, the brains for it, it's gonna be the Diatone Mamba Basic Stack. The F722 Mark III. Now I actually have the Mark II on my drone, but the Mark III is just the updated version of that, and it's about the same price as when I bought it anyway, so I figured I would just throw that up on screen. So $101.99, and you get the ESC, it's a 4-in-1 ESC, and flight controller. So you just order this, it's ready to go, slide it on the stack. It's 30 by 30, so it's gonna work with the frame that we chose, and so that's $101.99. Now me personally, I like a clean build, so it's easier for me I can actually fit 3 different boards on the same stack, and I like this VTX because it's thin and it has the 30 by 30 mounting holes. So the Rush Tank 2 Ultimate is my analog transmitter of choice, and it is $36.99. Oh, and by the way guys, I'm gonna leave links for all these in the description. Some of them are gonna be affiliate links and some of them won't be. So if you need any of these parts or decide to just copy my build directly, all the links are gonna be there, and you can just order them all in one go. And that should save you some money on shipping costs, since a lot of these sites will do $50 over free shipping. And if not, if you just need a couple of the parts, it would help me out a little bit if you can just use those links, purchase those items. Okay, so we got the VTX, and now we need an antenna for it. And these are the left-hand circular polarized. I actually use right-hand circular polarized, but that's just what pulled up quick here. So it looks like they're $39.99 for the 2-pack that I bought, so that way you have an extra. And again, this is an example of, there are cheaper antennas than this, but this is the one I have. So here's an area where you can save money, for example. So we have the VTX, we have the antenna, but now we need some way of actually getting the video, right? So I've been using the Cadex Ratel 2 for quite a while now. It's $30.99, so it's pretty normal price for a camera these days. So yeah, it's a great camera. Honestly, I haven't even broken one. They've lasted me forever, and they just always work, and they have a pretty good picture, so no problems with this one. And now for my receiver, I use Crossfire. So the TBS Crossfire Nano receiver is a good option for me with the Immortal antenna that comes with it. So if you get the antenna with it, it comes out to $34.99. And there are some bundle deals you can get where you can get like 3 receivers and 3 antennas together if you want to, but just for one build, this is all you need. Then you're also gonna need some motors. I went with T-Motor, they're a really good brand, and this line of the Velox motors are a cheaper alternative to their higher end motors. So these are the 2207. I run 4S batteries, so I went with a pretty high kV 2550. And of course you're gonna need 4 of these, so at $13.99 multiplied by 4, that's gonna be how much it costs to get your motors for your drone. And of course, to get the thing to fly, you need to put propellers on the motors. So I got a pack of these HQ Prop V1S propellers for $3.60 a pack. And you're probably gonna break some, so I'd recommend just getting like 3 of these packs right away. So that'll be $10.80. And then here to finish the build, I got some 3D prints, which this isn't necessary, but for me, it kind of was, because I knew I was gonna throw a GoPro on and I needed a good way to mount it. So here they make mounts where you can stick your antenna out the back and have little shoes on the end of your arms and mount your GoPro. So you can get all of them together in like an accessory kit, which I'd recommend doing if you're gonna get this build, because for $30, you can mount a GoPro on there, your antennas will be mounted safely, and you can save your arms from getting scuffed up from weird landings and stuff like that. And so all in all, the drone's gonna cost $367.41. And this is a pretty high-end analog build, so you can definitely do this cheaper, like I said, but you can also do more expensive. It just depends on what parts you wanna swap in and out. And here I just pulled up a quick example of a pre-built drone that's pretty popular. And there's actually a newer version of this drone, which is more expensive. So if you were to get an older generation, the Nazgul 5, it's $288.99 with the Crossfire module and similar KV motors. You can see really the price there, it's pretty similar, but you lack the ability to actually customize your build if you go this route. But I just wanted to show you this so you kind of understand the price range. And this is for analog, keep that in mind. But this is just for the drone itself. We actually haven't bought, you still need goggles to be able to fly, and you need radio to be able to fly, and you need to be able to plug in a battery so you can fly. And if you have batteries, then you need chargers, and the list just kind of keeps going on and on. So let's just get the core items and see what everything adds up to. So these are the goggles I bought personally, the Fat Shark HDO2s. They're $500 and they don't come with a transmitter module. So you actually have to buy that separately in addition to the goggles. And I bought the TBS Fusion since I just like TBS products and I know it was getting good reviews and it's a good product. So yeah, now just the goggles alone right now, this would cost you $619.84 without antennas. So you actually need an antenna patch as well. So this is the patch antenna I have, it's $25. You can get this one, and you can actually fit 2 antennas on this, so you can use the patch, and then for the circular, we got the other Axie antenna, that spare, when we got that 2-pack, so you can either use that, or you can get another antenna for like another 20 bucks or something like that. So yeah, antennas start to add up quick. Yeah, so my radio is actually discontinued, so I'm gonna use a different radio in place of mine, but it's equally as popular nowadays, and arguably a better radio anyway. For about the same price, it's a little bit more money, but it'll last you through your whole growth of an FPV pilot. There are cheaper options to keep in mind, but this one is, you're never gonna outgrow it, and it's a good alternative to what I have. So that radio is actually the Radiomaster TX16S, and this one comes with an ELRS module in it, but you can get a Crossfire module for it, which I'm gonna add additional to this. But really, if you're going for a budget build, I would recommend just going with ELRS for all of your stuff instead of Crossfire, because it's gonna be a lot cheaper and it's gonna work almost as good nowadays. So this comes out to $199.99. And you're actually gonna need to get a battery for it. So you can just get this 2-cell LiPo. You can see a TX16S compatible. Just throw that in there, 18 bucks, done. It'll last you forever. Well, not actually forever. You're gonna have to charge it, which we'll be talking about shortly. But first we gotta get through the rest of the radio stuff. So if you wanna go the Crossfire route, you're gonna need a micro TX module to plug into the back of your radio. So those are 70 bucks. There you go, done. But we didn't actually talk about how we're gonna power the drone. So coming back to the batteries, I use the Tattoo R-Line 4-cell batteries, the 1550 milliamp hours. So these are pretty juicy 4-cell LiPo. And yeah, they're a little bit heavier than some of the other ones, but they're gonna last you a while. So I think it's a pretty good trade-off. And I have several of these, but honestly, just to get started, you really only need like 2 batteries. Again, there's cheaper options, but for $40, they're a really solid battery and they're gonna last you a while. And so to charge those, I use the Toolkit RC M6D, and then you get 2 different charge ports. So if you just have 2 batteries, you can actually just plug them into 2 channels separately and charge them up. Or you can get a parallel charge board and you could charge up to like 8, 16 batteries at the same time. It just depends on how you wanna do it. But just to stay on the cheaper side here, we'll just get this, the 2 batteries, and we actually need a power supply to plug this into the wall. So for an additional $40, we can get this 400-watt power supply to power the charger, and now we can charge batteries. Yeah, and this comes out to $1,517.27 for everything that you need to fly your drone, build the drone, charge the batteries, all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely not cheap, but is it worth it? Maybe, I don't know. We also still don't have a GoPro, so let's cover that. If you go to GoPro's site, it's loading right now. Yeah, so GoPro's the newest one, Hero 10 Black. It costs you $499.99 unless you have the subscription discount, which is then $100 off that. So I'm just gonna assume that you don't add that to this total. And if you're someone who is serious about doing cinematic flying and wants to get really cool shots, then you're gonna need some ND filters. So that's gonna be another $49 $99.99. And this is for a pack of 3, but I like these because they just twist on and you get 3 different shades depending on what time of day or how bright it is. Yeah, so you can see I've been throwing in the calculator, adding it all up. So the total for everything, one drone, complete build, everything you need, $2,067.25. Yeah. So that's why it's hard to recommend this to beginners, because unless you're really serious about just going all in on it from the get-go, it adds up really fast. But there are plenty of ways to get into it for way cheaper. I mean, you could have an FPV setup, maybe even just like an indoor FPV setup you could do for under $500. There's kits out there for that, and there's ready to fly drones that way. So it just depends on what you actually want to do with it. If you're going for a filmmaking aspect, that's kind of what I went with here. Then this is what it's going to cost. And if you're somebody who has no idea if they want to do FPV, they don't know hardly what it is, it actually makes more sense to just get a radio, and you don't even have to get the radio I linked here. You can get a cheaper one. They make little gamepad controller looking ones for like 50 bucks. You can get one of those. Get a $20, I think there's even free simulators nowadays. You go on Steam, log in, buy a simulator, and you can fly FPV in the simulator for like 50 bucks, 70 bucks, something like that. And just kind of get used to it and learn about it if you like it or not. And if it's something that you really want to do, then go ahead and spend $2,000 and keep going. But if it's not, then and you're only out like 50 bucks. So it's something to consider. And like I said 1,000 times now, you don't have to spend $2 grand. You can spend 1,000, you can spend 10 grand. It just depends on what you want to do. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully see you in the FPV hobby soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe and follow me for more. And if you want to know anything more about your alternative options for flying FPV, like a cheap build or an expensive build, that kind of a thing, let me know and I'll try to make a video for it. So see you guys.